everyone, and welcome to a special episode of the Jedi Way. We're recording this on a Sunday morning. We'll be out on Sunday for you all to watch and listen to. This is the outlaw John Rocha, known as Rocha Fed around these parts, joined as always by these two wonderful people who are back in the ship with me, back in the cockpit of the ship here, as we talk Star Wars. First off, of course, the great Laura Kelly, co-host of Force Toast Pod, and I asked if she was doing her Mon Mothma look, but she said no, but I think it qualifies. How are you, Laura? How are things?
I'm good. It was a little bit rushed getting ready this morning. So this is what happens when things are rushed, and it's okay. Happy Life Day, by the way.
Yes!
It's November 17th. It's an in-universe holiday in the Star Wars world. And yeah, so it's Life Days. If anybody's celebrating anything special, good for you, because as far as I'm concerned, there's not a lot to celebrate in the world, or at least in this country right now. So
hey, right off the bat, Laura Kelly, respect. And joining us is the gentleman who has betrothed himself to me for Life Day. He is the KOTOR king himself, and we are very glad to have him back from a cruise ship and hanging out on vacation. That is the great Kevin Smets, the Smasher. How are you, Kevin?
The benefits of a cruise ship is by the fifth night when you eat, you lose all the weight the next day that you gained. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty svelte after a nice 5 day. I don't know if I'm a cruise guy. I think we did it as an experiment. Kira loved it. They had a great kids daycare thing there, so that was cool. But I'm not sure. But I'm excited to talk some Disney Star Wars.
Oh, there you go. The mouse
drinking
house.
That Disney Kool-Aid, dude.
Yeah, before we shill it out for the next hour, ladies and gentlemen. No, I want to hear this. So this is was that your first time on a cruise ship, Kevin?
No, I'd done it before, like when I graduated high school. I went on a cruise ship with my girlfriend at the time and my sister, who had to be the chaperone. So, but it's been a long time. Like, these boats are different now. Like, we didn't do like a massively expensive one. Like they have this like Icon of the Seas, which is like basically like a giant mall in the ocean. But we still did like it was like brand new on the fleet, and the food was okay. It was fun. I don't know. I think, I'm not 100%. Cabo was fun. I've been there before. That was nice. I wasn't a big fan of Ensenada so much, but it was good to do. We really want to do, like, I think for Kira, the Disney one sounds good. So, being a Disney shill, maybe, but yeah. So, but the whole claustrophobia thing, I couldn't help but think of that Star Wars fake cruise they used to do, the Starliner.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing is, like, our room didn't have windows, which we had forgot to upgrade. We meant to, or a balcony. And like, so we were always out on the deck because like we wanted to feel like outside. Like, you do feel that claustrophobia. I can't imagine going to a hotel and then there's no windows, just flat screens with like stars everywhere, and you have to be inside the whole time because you're on a starship. But I bet like they probably help sell it that you're in space and stuff. So the whole claustrophobia thing. But other than that, like, it was not complaining about it. The food at the end wasn't, I kind of had a little bit of the Palpatine's revenge, we'll call it. But I don't know what else to call it, but that was good. And then the other good news, because I just want to say we released our KOTOR trailer.
Hey.
Yeah, yesterday we had a KOTOR. We had it in the bin for a while, but we wanted to wait and kind of follow that Force Awakens style like release schedule. I think it was around this week that the Force Awakens teaser. It was in November anyway. So we released it, and in 24 hours, less than 24 hours, we already at 57,000 views. So
nice.
So people seem to be liking that, and I can announce here. I didn't get a confirmation from John that I'm allowed to announce it. But John will be, because I love doing TV spots, and I love doing the TV spots of lore, the old episode 3 TV spots. If you remember, like, Return to the Adventure with a Force all its own. And I have the good old John Rocha is going to be revoicing our TV spots that we'll be releasing closer when it comes into release, probably the first quarter of the new year. So unless our contract negotiations fell out, I don't know, John, but excited to have you part of it. But yeah, KOTOR teaser. If you just go to my Smash City Studios channel, it's the newest video, KOTOR Convergence teaser 3, and it's rocking. It's cool. I edited it myself. This one, the last teaser, the other, my co-director did it, and this was mine. And I wanted to do one that was very like gritty and kind of dark to show the darker side of things. So yeah,
nice. Yeah, I'm very honored to be asked, and we'll see how this goes. And I'm sure you'll see it in Deadline when we announce it, the contract.
Yeah. Snyder hasn't popped it yet, or hasn't broken it yet.
Snyder, yeah, no.
I was watching the hot mic, wondering if that was going to happen.
Oh no, Snyder's not going to break that. Laura, have you ever been on a cruise?
No, and I have zero interest in ever being trapped on a boat like that. Although I have a theory that the best way to do Alaska is to do an Alaskan cruise.
Yes.
So
I've heard that too.
That might be the asterisk on it, might be the exception. So, but for the most part, no, that is not the vacation style for me whatsoever. Pass.
It's so funny that Kevin brought that up, because last night, as I was looking through some articles on Yahoo, I saw that they know that there are people who maybe feel as Laura feels and want to take a 4-year vacation. There is a cruise line that allows you to cruise for 4 years on the ship. And they're going to go to like, it's like 140,000 for the 3 years. So I imagine it's probably 200,000 for the 4 year. You pay that up front and you are going on the cruise ship for 4 years. They're going to 105 locations, I think, or 405, something like that. And you will visit all over the world. And so you could absolutely, if you wanted to leave for a bit, you could go on a cruise ship for 4 years, which is insane. So
that's interesting. I wonder if you can get off it and then like have a month away and then come back to it. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know.
Dude, I'll catch up with you guys in Fort Worth. Well, not Fort Worth. That's not even near an ocean.
Fort Worth. There you go. But
the good news is, if you end up on a 4-year cruise, when you come back, you won't have missed any Star Wars films, more than likely.
Great segue. Let's do that. That is what we're talking about here. Star Wars for sure. And the lack thereof, or the moving around, or the canceling of dates. We got so much to get into here in this particular Star Wars episode here. We're going to talk about the cancellation of that film in 2026. We're going to talk about the Daisy Ridley, Simon Kinberg situation. Charmin Obaid-Chinoy. What does all of that mean here? We're going to talk about all Stephen Knight leaving, who's going to come in, and of course some Andor stuff, because season 2 is right on the precipice here in April, and we've got some footage and some pictures to take a look at and talk about as well. So all of that is happening here on this show. But we got to start with the big news that dropped yesterday, and that is that Star Wars, or Disney, has removed the Star Wars movie from its 2026 slate. This was supposed to come out on December 18th of 2026. Ice Age 6 will now move into its spot, much to Kira's happiness, I'm sure. This was never confirmed to be Charmin Obaid-Chinoy's project, but it was pretty much assumed it was going to be Charmin Obaid-Chinoy's Rey project. And of course, that project has hit a lot of snags with different writers coming through, kept the same director, but different writers coming through on this one. And then the news, obviously, recently that maybe this whole thing might not happen, or that Simon Kinberg is going to be involved. So there's a lot to dive into here, Laura. So when you heard this, was this a collective just like, of course, or were you more like, oh, now this, I don't know what's going on now? What are your thoughts when you hear it? Of course, this isn't the first time they've moved things around or canceled things. So what were your thoughts on this?
This was a brief eye roll and then going about my day. I mean, it was just so par for the course for Star Wars. It's so unfortunate, but it's the least like unexpected thing I think to ever happen. So that was it. It's not a surprise. It is unfortunate that we have to continue this now, what seems like an undetermined amount of time in between movies. We know that we'll get Mandalorian and Grogu in May 2026. It sounds like that at least remains on schedule. TBD on whether or not they're still filming that or not. I've been hearing different things, but if they are still filming, they have to be almost done potentially at this. Who knows? But it sounds like at least that's on track for something. And then after that, I mean, it's anyone's guess.
Yeah, Kevin, we're back in this boat again. We're talking about cruises. We're back in this boat again, where another predominant Star Wars film that had all this buzz around it. I remember Jeff breaking the announcement of the 3 films on Hot Mic, and this being a big thing everyone was excited about. They talked about it. They announced it officially at Celebration, and everyone was on board. And then Writer 1, Writer 2, Writer 3, we can't get it right. Stephen Knight coming in, Stephen Knight leaving the project. And according to my sources, as we talked about a few weeks ago, he had submitted multiple editions or drafts of this, and just eventually was just at a wit's end and left the whole project. According to Jeff on the Hot Mic, there is a new writer that has been assigned, but they have not announced the writer. It's an older writer who is coming, an older professional writer, a person with a lot of credits on the resume, who's coming in to write this. But now that they've moved the film, or moved the film off, like they're not dropping anything there. What are your thoughts on this whole situation? Are we even going to see this film?
Looks like Disney, or looks like the Force got put on ice.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
I promised you I'd have a couple days to figure out a dad joke for that one.
You did.
That one fell like a lead balloon.
To be fair, it's the 6th installment, so yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Look,
Yes.
the longer they take, fine if they get it right. But it's just stop announcing things.
Yeah.
Stop announcing things.
Yeah.
It's just we laugh every time. Now, did Jeff say that the Kinberg thing is? So my theory is, and maybe I'm I literally fresh off a boat basically, but they did Kinberg. When Kinberg announced that he's doing a trilogy, do you suspect that there was originally going to be a Rey movie, and then they're like, well, we're really liking this concept of the Rey movie. We want Rey to be the Obi-Wan figure. Let's turn it into a trilogy. Hey, Simon, will you do a trilogy about Rey? Or is Simon Kinberg separate from Rey, or do we not know anything at all?
I think that's up in the air, and I want to address that when we get to the Kinberg section. I just want to address first, like, what you feel about this situation here. And
this situation, it's like, of course, like, what do you expect? They're becoming a joke. Like someone should make that, like, the Comic-Con release template, or the release thing where it's against the galaxy. They should do one with everything they've announced ever, and you wouldn't have room for it. I think what Snyder was talking about it being pushed to the what would it be, the 50th anniversary?
Yeah, in May.
Is dangerous though with that Secret Wars release.
Yeah, right.
That's what happened to Solo. It was wedged up too close to Avengers.
Right.
So this is all so silly and disappointing. I just want to see a Star Wars movie. But again, this was the earlier. Was this the earlier date before, or Mandalorian Grogu is always going to be the first one out the gate?
Yes, so
we're still going to get a Star Wars movie. We're going to get that shared experience in the theater.
That's May of 2026. That's May of 2026.
But they're starting to just really embarrass themselves, and it's just like it's kind of like when you have like a bad, like, especially because Star Wars is a big franchise and everybody's loving to hate on it, or at least half the fan base is. So they're loving victories like this. So when you see news like this, you're always like, here comes everybody out of the woodwork to make their point and to dance on the graves of those that are suffering. It's just like when as a Laker fan, whenever the Lakers are bad, everybody comes out of the woodworks to remind me how bad they are. So it's disappointing, but not unexpected.
Can I ask you guys one question? And is there any part of you that is like sort of not grateful, but at least kind of comforted by the fact that there is some sort of quality control in place? Like, we don't have like one person making all of the creative decisions, but we kind of do, maybe. And maybe that's the person who's like, no, this doesn't fit. It needs to fit. Like, there's these roadblocks that are coming up potentially for a reason. I mean, I know that it's embarrassing and it is funny that we just can't seem to get any kind of forward momentum on a Star Wars film. But the part of me that really cares about canon and really cares about timeline and really pays attention to those things, there is like some slight comfort for that for me. But I don't know, maybe that's like being unreasonable and being too optimistic. It's probably just a lot of red tape and other obstacles that are stopping this from moving forward. But what do you think, John?
I think it's more about I believe in things like the universe. Like, I believe in universal wavelengths. I believe in the universe, like, showing you what you should or shouldn't do, or if things are being if there are too many obstacles in the way, you can take it as, well, that's how much it's testing me that I should get this done, or I should read these signs as like I should stop, reassess, and go in a different route. And it seems to me like in this situation, Laura, I want to be as positive as you're being, but I think in the end, I don't know. We have to find out what it is that all of these scripts that were submitted didn't quite hit the mark. What is it that they were missing? And it's either that, because it seems like Kathleen is the one that's going to say yes or no, as she's fired and hired, throughout her time. What is the one, and I know Filoni's involved as well, but what are the things that are stopping them from going forward with the movie in these scripts? We've multiple drafts of these scripts. What are they missing? What are they not getting right? So I can go one way and go, as you said, well, they're not hitting it right, and they're not going to put it in production until they get the script they 100% believe in, because they want to come out the gate with this. Yeah, Mandalorian and Grogu is its own thing, and it's going to be fine and whatever. But clearly, this is a beginning of something bigger. As Daisy said in October, I'm so excited to see the new ones. She said plural about the movies. So I think Daisy knew from the beginning when they asked her to come back that it was going to be for multiple movies. That's my belief. I know that they said like, oh, one movie. I think Daisy wouldn't have come back if it wasn't going to be like something really that set her career up and maybe a way to come back to and do it right one more time, in her opinion. And so do you look at the situation? Did they get it? Oh, did they not get it right? So, okay, fine. You wait. But now this looks like you're trying to rejigger the situation and figure things out. And then you announce a new trilogy, which we're going to get to, and that muddies the waters even more. Yeah. And to me, I walk away from this going, we're never going to see Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy direct this movie. I just have no belief that that's going to happen at any point now. Now, I was very big a fan of her coming on, and I, got in trouble with the anti-wokes because I got emotional telling people like, calm your asses down, let's see what she can do. But, now it seems very clear that they don't seem to have a lot of confidence in where they're going, and the scripts keep being an issue. And I think they're readjusting now about what to do going forward. And I don't think we see that film now at all, the Rey film. But I think the trilogy is a possibility. Kevin, what's your answer to Laura's question?
I do feel a sense of that they're probably making sure that things are right. So I agree. Okay. I do. Laura, I'm more on Laura's leanings of that, but that's just the half is glass full. Me just hoping, it's hoping that they're starting to correct the ship, because they've had so many missteps this whole process, and maybe they're like, and they knew they were going to take a big L socially or social media wise. When they do this, they're going to take a big hit that everybody was going to kind of jump on them. So maybe they're doing this for a reason. Now it could be because it was a disaster and they're like, oh, this is really bad. And now they're just like scrambling, or it could be like they just want a little more time to get it right. Or it could be like Jeff's theory, and it's a timing thing. But yeah, I would hope, but it's so difficult to comment on it, because like Rocha, you make a lot of good points in your assessment of it too. So I guess we're just gonna have to stand by and wait and see. But I'm cautiously optimistic, and as long as we're still getting one in 2026, and as long as that's the plan moving forward, we got plenty of Star Wars until then. Andor we're gonna talk about. So Skeleton Crew. So yeah,
for sure. Skeleton Crew coming soon. All right, well, let's move on to this thing that Kevin was mentioning here. And Kevin, I'll give you first dibs on this one. But yeah, I mean, this Simon Kinberg situation, let's talk about this. This is really happening. This trilogy, Lucasfilm is developing a new Star Wars trilogy. This was announced in a number of publications back on November 7th. Kinberg is set to write and produce the 3 films with Kathleen Kennedy. Whether Kathleen Kennedy is still working for Lucasfilm at the time when these films come out or not, we will see, but certainly that is the announcement. This will begin a new series with new characters after the rise of Skywalker here. Plot details haven't been revealed. Lucasfilm has disputed the notion first suggested by Deadline in their initial report of the forthcoming trilogy that Kinberg's movies will continue the story that George Lucas began with 1977's A New Hope. But there's a conflict going on between what this trilogy is supposed to be. Some people are saying it is the continuation to be 10, 11, 12. Other people are saying that it's going to be a whole new trilogy with completely new characters. Rey is supposedly involved in this trilogy as an Obi-Wan type, but not necessarily carrying on the story from the previous trilogies. So, Kevin, what's your thoughts when you hear this and your feeling about Simon Kinberg? Not necessarily the best track record in terms of product.
Well, we're going to disagree there in a second. Okay. Because I like Dark Phoenix. I loved watching your reaction to it.
All right. But
this is why I was Intergeekdom champion. I liked horrible movies, I guess.
Fair point. But that's a good point, actually. But the other side of it is that, but he does have a good reputation of landing multiple franchise ships when he's in charge of them. Whether you like what the landing is at the end, is something else, but he lands it in multiple franchises.
And he's a super fan. He's like,
very true.
He dives himself into it. Like he will be someone that's not, a lot of some of the critics of Disney Star Wars saying like, why are there writers that aren't in love with Star Wars in the writer's room? And I disagree. I think you should have a nice mix of both. But this guy, first of all, he headed up Rebels. Like he was like the writer of Rebels. So my theory is if it is episodes 9, 10, and 11, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Sorry. If it's 10, 11, 12, you could still consider it the Skywalker saga without, like, you have Rey Skywalker, right? You have that whole thing. But I would contend, and because he likes Rebels, right? Like, you're gonna you have some characters that can carry over from Rebels if they don't die in the Avengers event movie that Dave Filoni's doing. But I could see maybe, well, I don't know, Ahsoka. If you're gonna have Rey as the Obi-Wan, you're not gonna need 2 Obi-Wan types, but because I feel like Ahsoka is the Skywalker bloodline too. Like she was his apprentice. So but I do like Kinberg. I do Days of Future Past is one of my favorite all-time comic book movies of all time. Like it's still up there. I like it better than like Avengers Infinity War. Like it always has a place in my heart. So he doesn't all necessarily land everything. Like I understand why some people don't like Dark Phoenix. But I happen to like that. But he was heavily involved in Rebels. Like that was his baby. So maybe he's doing a post-Rebels crew trilogy about them, right? Or at least some of them. Like you could have Ezra.
We have Ezra. We have Hera. We have Sabine. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So I mean, if that was his baby, and he gets to do a live action show with that, and that crew when that came out, that felt like I remember when it first came out. First of all, the music purposely was starting to sound more like A New Hope and not like the prequels. Fans of music would understand what Kevin Kiner was up to with that. Like he was he was doing more of those like flutes and those horns that were in John Williams' A New Hope and Empire than a lot of the more orchestral type stuff that he was doing in the prequels. And that was to bridge it and make it sound more like we're getting into the original trilogy. So, but it also felt like that crew always felt like, oh, that was an original trilogy. Like that, they could command a trilogy of their own and make it feel, for those that are just like in love with the original trilogy and always want to feel that nostalgia, right? Like Rebels kind of hit that tune. So that, but if you don't even think about them as nostalgia, that group could carry its own trilogy, I think. And if that was his babies and he could do a live action. So my theory is it's going to be, if it's after Rise of Skywalker, it's still going to have some, like you said, it's going to probably have Rey as the Obi-Wan type. And maybe Rey will be the one to, help with Ezra and channel and become his master, and Ezra there'll be some new ones, and hopefully Finn can get involved. So I know that fans, the anti-Disney trilogy fans, aren't gonna like some of those ideas, but as far as Kinberg as a filmmaker, I'm excited because I know that he brings a lot of passion into it. And when you have someone that loves what he does and loves the and holds with reverence what he's about to create in the world he's going to create in, sometimes you're not going to hit it every time, but the ones you do hit, they're going to knock it out of the park, and it's going to be feel good for everybody, fans of new and fans of old.
Yeah, Laura, I mean, he's got a track record, as I said, multiple franchises, recently executive producing Deadpool and Wolverine, certainly Invasion on Apple. He's done multiple X-Men movies, Legion, as he said, as Kevin said, Star Wars Rebels, although there's some debate on whether he started it off and then him and Filoni had some issues and Filoni took it over from there. So that's behind the scenes stuff. We don't know too much about that, but he's listed as an EP for the entire run of Rebels, The Gifted, the Deadpool movies, the Sherlock Holmes movies, and currently attached to a Star Trek project as well. So there's a lot that he's doing, but I sensed from the reactions I saw that this was a collective meh. What did you think when you heard this, and what do you think it means?
Yeah, I mean, he does have some mixed things in his filmography.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot of stuff that I really liked. I like the fact that he was the writer on Twilight of the Apprentice parts 1 and 2 for Rebels and the series finale. I love those episodes. So that does give me some comfort that he was seemingly so heavily involved in Star Wars Rebels. Funny enough, going like way back, he, I think, was a writer and producer on Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which is a movie that I love, that I know is not super well received. I love that movie. And then 2005's Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Another one of my favorite movies. So he's been heavily involved in some of these things that I've really liked. there's a lot of stuff in there that is questionable as well. So I'm excited about the prospect of a trilogy from him. The fact that he has the sort of insider knowledge, kind of question mark, of how things work at Lucasfilm, having worked on Star Wars Rebels, he must have some kind of relationship with Dave Filoni in some respect if he's been granted this trilogy. But like all things Star Wars film wise, I stop announcing things. I just wish they would stop. Like, and this isn't even on like Lucasfilm. They didn't announce this. This information leaked somewhere, and somebody else at one of the trades announced it, and that's fine. But I just wish this information would honestly just stop coming out, because who knows where this is going to end up. I feel like maybe this might have a better chance of actually making it to fruition given his past with Lucasfilm. But I don't believe any of it anymore, and I can't put stock into any of it anymore when it comes to these film announcements or trilogy announcements. And yeah, whether or not Rey's involved with it, I don't know. I don't care. It's fine. Maybe she gets her own movie. Maybe she's lightly involved in this. Maybe she's more. It doesn't matter to me, to be honest. But I do think it's interesting that there's one of these articles I think that we talked about, maybe Variety, talked about how Rey is one of the most valuable film assets,
cinematic assets,
that Lucasfilm has right now, and I think that that's a really good point. I will be curious to see how that plays out if we have to keep waiting and waiting and waiting. Yeah. Does that build up hype even more, or does that train run out of steam?
I would like to just retract all of my previous statements, because I realized he did the 2015 Fantastic Four movie as a writer. So
well, look,
I take it all back.
He's been working for decades, so you're going to get, some positive with some negatives. Shall I show you Ridley Scott's resume? I mean, you're just not always going to knock it out of the park. And Gladiator 2 is fine. It's just not great. So you just never know what you're going to get in terms of results. But Laurie, you make some interesting points. He's been involved in some of the best of Star Wars. So he's not some middling writer who's come in and they desperately grab somebody off the street. Maybe the stuff we've heard about possible friction with him and Filoni was overblown. I'm sure Filoni approved this, he's the creative officer. He would not have. I know Kathleen could have overrid Dave, but I have a feeling she wouldn't want to do this without Dave's tacit approval. And on the other side of this, I have to look at this and put my Star Wars tinfoil hat on and go, well, Sean Levy just directed Deadpool and Wolverine. He executive produced Deadpool and Wolverine, and that thing shocked everybody with how much money it made. And then you look at the other side and go, well, wasn't he working on a Rey film? Sean Levy isn't that the rumored script that he's working on? So what's going on here with this trilogy? Is this Rey movie going to happen, as we speculated on the hot mic, as a launching pad for this new trilogy? Are the things going to be laid out in this Rey movie, if it does happen, that launches us into this new trilogy? Or will this new trilogy overshadow the Rey movie, so the Rey movie isn't going to happen, and it's going to be the new trilogy where Rey shows up and she's a big part of it and leading this crew? Or as Kevin speculated, which I had not even thought about, I kind of hit myself in the head for not thinking about it, is a Rebels trilogy live action. You say, as Laura said, well, they say they only, behind the scenes, they say they only have Rey as a cinematic asset. Well, how do you add more cinematic assets? You put them in films and see how they do, and see if people go to these movies and make money, and then they become cinematic assets. I'm sure Mandalorian and Grogu, if that movie is big and is successful, will now become cinematic assets. So it's an interesting situation to be involved in this early, and it's early. And Laura, you're right. It was Fleming over at Deadline who reported this. Well, you have to wonder, because I've seen Jeff do this, like, you got to call the studio. You got to verify with the studio. Did the studio say yes? Did they say no? Did they give him a no comment? They say they don't confirm this, but then Simon Kinberg came out on his social media and confirmed it. So in essence, that's like the studio confirming it. So that to me says this is where they're going. But it makes it all confusing, because as you guys say, why announce so many things? Right now, we have 7 movies there supposedly, or 9 if you include the Taika Waititi one, the Phantom Rian Johnson trilogy, which they've never 100% said is not going to happen. And the even the Feige one, which is probably dead now, but there was rumors about that. And then Donald Glover's situation. So there's so many things that they supposedly have announced and they're working on, but none of them are anywhere near coming to fruition, other than Mandalorian and Grogu.
Well, I do also want to address the speculation on characters being involved, because obviously Star Wars Rebels characters could be involved somewhere on the fringe, but I think Variety did state that this will be new characters. It's kicking off a new series with new characters, so not necessarily bringing in all of those sequel trilogy people, but allegedly following the sequel trilogy, at least in terms of timeline, but with new characters. So again, I totally agree. Could those Star Wars Rebels characters could make an appearance, but I don't think they're going to be the center of it.
Well, that's the battle right now, because you're right. Variety said that, but then Boris Kitt over at, I think, Hollywood Reporter came out and said, no, I've heard they're going to be the sequel characters. So there's a battle going on within the scoopers themselves about what's the truth, because Boris is saying he's here from his people, his sources, that it is the continuation. And I think Fleming and other people are saying from Star Wars that they're saying it's not the continuation, it's new characters. So there's a battle going on here about what this trilogy might be. To me, I look at it as like, it's just, oh, let's do this, and then let's do this, and let's announce it here. It just seems like, and let's announce it on a certain particular night where everyone's distracted with something else. So it's just like these little things that you're just like, what is the end result of all of this? Kevin, what's the result of announcing all of these things? And why do they allow this to happen? Why do they keep doing it? Do you think reporters are just ignoring their Disney or Star Wars's reactions to all this and going forward with this stuff?
I'm just as guilty of it in a smaller sense. Like with my KOTOR movies, I have a ton of things down the pike. Like I have the KOTOR Convergence movie. I'm doing a Ken Burns style Civil War retell, like a documentary of some of the battles of the Mandalorian Wars. Nice. Like I have we have our sequel series, Shadows of the Empire, Shadows of the Sith, which is our KOTOR 3, reimagining. And then we have our prequel series, Revan. So I talk a lot of, and I have the Smets cut of another thing that I'm re-editing for one of our other KOTOR movies. So I have a ton of things, so I get it. But all of those are going to be done. I think that when they just start announcing everything, they get real excited. And I think they are trying to turn the boat of public in their favor. So I think they mean well, and they want to get their fans excited. I hope it would not be for any other nefarious reasons, like just, legally they have to do it or something like that,
But, interesting. All right.
I don't know. You would know more on that business aspect of maybe it was part of the deal. They have to have all these things, but it's becoming parody now. So it's enough with it.
All right. Well, let's move on. Before we finish this all off, let's move on to the other article that dropped here from Boris Kitt, who talked about stuff that was going on behind the scenes. Laura, your thoughts on this? I mean, he's saying, as you said, the cinematic aspect of it all, but also they're running out of nostalgia. Directors don't know what the other directors are working on. So how are you all coming together on a timeline and agreeing with what's going on? So it seemed from that article that there was a lot of dysfunction going on behind the scenes. Even I think one of the quotes is like, it's an unusual way to do a franchise, but we're approaching it this way. What were your thoughts coming out of that article from Boris Kitt? Did it give you confidence, or did it feel like more of the same that you suspected already? Oh, you're muted. Yeah.
Sorry about that. It was muted. It feels like a lot of the same to me. I like that this adds some extra color to the conversation. This adds a little bit of extra context and some background. But for the most part, this doesn't really convince me of anything either way. I still think it's kind of up in the air as to how this is going to go, but I do enjoy kind of reading these analyses of what is going on behind the scenes or allegedly going on behind the scenes in these recap articles of kind of how did we get here. So I would recommend it for that alone.
Yeah.
If they did announce a Plagueis movie directed by Scorsese, would you, Laura, accompany me to opening night?
I would.
Okay.
I would love to. I appreciate that.
Awesome.
Do I need to read the book ahead of time? Will that be
yes. If you want free popcorn and candy, you gotta have to read the book. And
that's 50% of it is being there for popcorn. So
I'll take those odds.
This is cinema. This is cinema. Plagueis is cinema. Cinema. I can just see that 100% in the interviews with Scorsese.
Oh my God, I almost spit up my Disney show coffee.
It affects the whole universe. It affects the whole yeah, Kevin, what are your thoughts on this analysis from Boris Kitt and this breakdown? Like, is this what you kind of suspected already? Was there anything new here that struck you in what was in this article talking about Anything? Okay. Just wanted to check in. All right. Then one last question I have about all of this is, what do you guys think about, in combination of all these news articles that have come out here? Do you really believe that Rey is going to be a massive part of this next stage of Star Wars? Because all these articles seem to confirm or indirectly confirm that Rey is the tentpole they are using from which to launch this new section or phase, shall I say, to use a Marvel term, of Star Wars. Because the reaction to Rey has not always been positive. It's been a very negative at times reaction from certain sections of the fandom. Other sections love Rey, just like I do. They love Rey. And so I like the idea. Yeah. And I'm sure, and I hear your thoughts on that. So what do you guys think about this? Do you think this is the right move, or should they have just started completely from scratch, use the Mandalorian Grogu movie to maybe launch something and then go from there? What do you guys think about this Rey situation? Will she be the one, and do you want her to be the one that they kind of make the tentpole in the ground, put the post in the ground for this new phase?
I mean, I'm kind of indifferent on Rey. I do like her as a character, but I'm not like raring for another Rey chapter in her story. I do think that they've struck a really good balance in terms of, if they think that she's the most valuable cinematic asset that they have, great. But they also have put so much other content out there. There are so many other jumping off points that they could potentially take advantage of.
True.
I don't think that I don't consider this putting all of their eggs in one basket in banking on a Rey movie. There's just way too much other stuff that they've put out that actually has, most of which has been successful. So I like the idea of getting it, but I don't necessarily need like 4 more movies of Rey stuff. That said, you're right. There are swaths of the fandom who love her as a character. In 2015 is when she debuted as a Star Wars character. And as we all know, all nostalgia comes back around. All of it's going to come back around at some point. So even if it doesn't happen anytime soon, honestly, the longer they wait, I think the more hype they would build up for bringing that character back, especially with Daisy Ridley playing the same character. So I think it will all come back around, and that excitement will be there eventually, just the same way that there is a giant group of people who are really happy to see Luke Skywalker and Leia and Han Solo all come back in the sequel trilogy. Right. I think we'll get that same amount of excitement from certain people in the fandom, especially younger fans who were so excited to see Rey in those movies and were really young in 2015. That excitement will come back around, and nostalgia will come back around, because inevitably it always does.
Yeah,
we got to wait for those the young fans of Rey right now to get old enough to use OBS and Riverside and Streamlab, and then they'll be able to start their podcast and be really excited about the nostalgia.
I hate to break it to you, they're already using that stuff at that age. Please, they're way quicker than we were.
Probably. But I, as a fan of Rey and her musical theme too, I really love underrated theme of the saga is Rey's theme. It always makes me think of Christmas time and the premieres and the movies when they were coming out. So makes me think fondly of it. But I also am I want a good comeback story. Not that, I used to misspeak or misspoke. How do I say I used to misspoke? I used to whatever. I misspoke when Jar Jar when Ahmed Best had his big comeback in Mandalorian, or it was in Ahsoka. Which one was it?
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian. Yes.
When he had his big comeback, and I remember I was using what a good redemption tour for him, and he didn't need to redeem himself for anything. Like he had his part, he did his job for Phantom Menace, and he as a person didn't need to redeem himself for anything. So I don't want to say that this is a good redemption tour for Daisy Ridley, but I am a sucker for a good comeback story, and there are a lot of people that are sour on her, and if she could turn it around, if they can turn it around and get a little bit more support for her and her character, that would be great. My worry is, and here's the negative about investing so much in calling her, I think they called her a weapon or something, a tool of the trade, is there are a lot of people that have dug their heels in. And they are never going to change. That is just the way they are. Yeah. I remember growing up with my sister. If I got in an argument with my sister and she would dig her heels in, even if she knew she was wrong, she would always dig her heels in. I think we all do it sometimes in something, if we really stick our ground. And even when we start realizing, oh, maybe I'm not right, but you can't turn back now. So I do worry that they can come out with The Godfather Part 2 of Star Wars movies, a perfect cinematic piece of lore and that fits the character for Rey perfectly, and that the people that don't like Disney Star Wars will, no matter what, shit on it. So, and I say this because I'm drinking out of a Disney cup, and it's very likely that I'll be a thumbnail at some point for someone. If that happens, I just implore you, if any of the trackers are watching this for the channels that have been very anti-Disney, you have every right to feel the way you feel. But I just hope that if they do come out with a Rey movie, that you give it a chance, and perhaps maybe they can do something that would turn it around for you as well. And I think that would make everyone as fans happier. So I'm rooting for the best, hoping for the best, bracing for the worst. I think it's very brave of, well, it's not brave. She's probably getting a huge payday, and it's Star Wars. But I do think, for Daisy Ridley to come back, despite knowing probably all the backlash it's gotten and what it's going to get, and some of the backlash that the Acolyte got, and for these poor actors to deal with all these toxic fans and such, I'm rooting for them 100%. And as I say, that's coming from a fan of Rey, but understanding why there are people that didn't like Rey when The Force Awakens came out and the Mary Sue, which is why I thought it had a Revan style twist, which it didn't. But yeah. Revan style twist, meaning that she was such a Mary Sue because she was actually already a Jedi and her mind was wiped and she didn't know it. I thought that would have been a cool twist, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I like the idea of really coming back. I loved Rey as a character. I love her playing the role. And she's older now, right? She's married. She's had life experiences. She's dealt with stuff. She's spoken about her physical maladies that she has had to overcome and stuff. And that changes you as a person, right? Especially as you get into your 30s. That's when you're no longer that fun kid that hung out in your 20s. Like you go to bed early. Like there's all kinds of things that happen in your 30s. So there might be a different approach to Rey than what we saw, which I loved, by the way, but a different approach, an older Rey, a more staid Rey. That could be an interesting thing to explore. My issue is reading all of these articles, looking at all this stuff, seeing all these changes, moving films off of dates. I don't know that this is the people I trust to do the right job by Rey. Like, I just don't know if I trust them. Multiple writers now have gone through. You're bringing in Kinberg, great, but what's the connection? Are we going to use the Rey film for one thing or another? How much is Rey going to be a part of this thing? Do I trust them to write to Rey's strengths? I don't know. And because she comes back and these things get destroyed all over again, I don't know how you recover from that. And don't give me this crap that, she got, and I don't mean you, Kevin. I mean, other people I've seen, well, she gets paid, so she should deal with it. Nonsense. We're all human beings. Money is irrelevant. It's important to have money. It's good to have money, of course, but money's not going to paper over millions of people saying that you're horrible. And millions of people have done that on social media for years to Daisy Ridley and to Rey.
But if it's for $1 million, that's $1 per person. So,
yeah, exactly. Right. Fair point. But, and I'm sure I'm lowballing the number of the amount of people that have come after her for that role, whether they're financially invested to or they legitimately feel this way about her. So, but I do think it's brave of her to walk into it because you're courting the response. Even Jude Law this week talked about his nervousness of walking into Star Wars to do Skeleton Crew because he is going to be risking the barbs and the shots and the comments and the think pieces that might be coming at his expense, especially if Skeleton Crew is a middling effort. We will see.
Question for you now.
Yeah.
Who would you trust? Fantasy booking 101. Who would you trust?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, who would be the one today? All right, here's Rey. Not redeemer or not fixer, because some people don't feel like she needs fixing, but elevate her so everybody loves her.
You know who I would trust right now? Lauren LaFranc. After what I just saw in The Penguin, I would 100% trust her if they said, you're going to come in and you're going to be the EP of this new Rey focused trilogy and this new Rey movie. We want you. I'm Kathleen. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to let you handle it. Don't worry about Dave. I'll sit on Dave.
Love that.
Lauren, you do your thing. You do your thing. And we're behind you 100%. I think she's ready to make the jump. That Penguin was as cinematic as it gets. So to me, I think she would be the choice personally. Yeah, that's my
answer. She could do a Jabba miniseries too. So
possible too. All right, let's take a quick break. And on the other side, we'll talk some Andor season 2 stuff here right after this. As Kevin gives us the haunted house door.
Oh, I thought I was muted. It's muted when that thing happens. We got it. We really, and sometimes when I'm working, like, and I'm so focused, and I'll hear that, and it's like my daughter coming in. It's like a horror movie. Like, all right, sorry, I thought it mutes it on the graphic thing.
Daddy. All right. So this week we got ourselves a taste of some Star Wars footage. It was like 35 seconds or 25 seconds. We got to see some Star Wars footage. We got to see some awesome new vehicles. We got to touch base with a lot of the characters from the past. We got to see some stormtroopers action. We got some K2SO coming back into this thing. And we had some pictures that popped up on Empire Magazine, who did a spread on this. You see Andor there, and you see Orson Krennic, and we got some new quotes as well to be a part of all of this. So, Laura, how excited are you for this Andor season 2 stuff? What did you think of the photos, and what did you think of the footage that we got here?
I'm actually getting really excited for Andor season 2. I have not made it any secret that I wasn't a massive fan of season 1, but part of that for me was a lot of the pacing, especially of the first 3 to 4 episodes. Where we're coming in season 2, the groundwork has all been laid. The foundation is there. We don't need to spend a ton of time getting caught up on where Cassian is at this point in his life. So I'm thinking that the pacing will work for me a little bit better. I think that hopefully it'll be a little bit lighter in terms of bringing somebody like K2SO into the story and bringing some humor in. So I'm overall really looking forward to this. This season, I'm very optimistic. I'm excited about the footage that came out. It's so brief. It's just a little clip, I think, from what was that from D23, where they announced the 2025 preview. Yeah. It's so brief, but it's also like, I like having just a taste this far out. April 22nd, I think that's pretty far away still.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm fine to let's stay on the hype train for Skeleton Crew and take one thing at a time and get to Andor eventually. But Rogue One's my favorite Star Wars movie, and we are clearly building right up to the very beginning of that. So I'm really excited to see where we end up with season 2.
Yeah, and here's the front of the cover, which I think is pretty awesome, with Mon Mothma there and Cassian and Krennic right on the front. I think the color choice, the design, all of this is a fantastic choice for a cover here. And of course, this one comes out on November 21st. The magazine, I think digitally. I don't know if Empire does them physical copies anymore. Kevin, your thoughts on what we saw in this footage? What stood out to you? What do you think of that TIE fighter? What are your feelings on Andor and these photos we got?
I forgot that Krennic was going to be in it. I mean, I assumed.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
So is Deidre. I had to break it. So is Deidre. She's going to be part of this thing too.
I love the novel Catalyst, which was leading up to Rogue One. I remember fondly reading that before Rogue One. And so it's going to kind of be in that same area where parts of it will be. Nothing I love more, which is why one of my biggest things I didn't like about The Last Jedi was no time jump. It's fun to see the time jump between movies, the new hairstyles, the new maturing of the characters, the new wardrobes, the new costumes for your toys and stuff like that. And so this feels like it's over 4 years, a year time jumping between every 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So it's like 4 movies. You're getting like a 4 movie thing. Like, I don't know if I'd have it because I'm going to be on this show. I don't have the temperament to hopefully they do like the first 3 movies at one night. I don't know if they do, but it would be cool. And I can't do it just because I'm on this show and I'm going to want to do the weekly recaps, but it'd be cool to experience it and to avoid spoilers, like 4, 3-episode movies, 4 3-hour movies. Because those time jumps are going to be fun. Like, okay, now where are they at? And that every 4 episodes, it's going to be a gnarly Breaking Bad style cliffhanger or maybe a resolution. And then you're like, wow, where are they going to go next? Right. So, and each time jump, you're going to have brand new characters that will be involved. And the closer you get to Rogue One, probably more of those cameos. Probably, let's be honest, Krennic might not show up till the 3rd block or the 2nd block, right? Or K2SO might be the 2nd block. They'll probably just reorient and stuff. So I could be wrong on all of that, but very excited. That was my favorite tidbit of all of it. Was I knew about the time jumps, but I wasn't sure how that was going to work. So every taking place over 4 years is going to be great. And like I said, adding the lore, I finally showed Rogue One to my wife last summer or whatnot. And having gone through everything already with season 1 with him, you really do that. Rogue One is going to be elevated so much more after this whole series is out, and it already is because of season 1. And whether you even like it or not, like as far as Laura wasn't the biggest fan of season 1, she is more invested in that character, at least as far as she knows more and is closer to Andor as far as who he is as a person. So that scene on the beach when they're hugging and it's the end of his life, you've seen it, you've been with them on this long journey. So super excited about it. That's going to be fun. And all in all, Andor is a more well-received show, so it won't be a weekly battle or toxicity all over social media, hopefully like it was with the Acolyte. So
yeah, I mean, I love these images. They're exciting. I think everything we've gotten, and I think they were smart to just release like 25 seconds or whatever of footage that was part of an overall trailer, massive trailer about stuff that's coming in 2025. I thought it was great. And seeing Cassian back, seeing Diego. I was watching The Terminal the other night. I haven't seen that film in forever, and I love that movie. As a son of immigrants, that movie speaks a lot to me about certain things that Tom Hanks is going through in that movie, and other immigrants in the movie, characters and what they go. So it's one of the things it's one of my favorite special from Steve. I know not everybody didn't like that, but Diego's so young. Oh, good. Diego's so young in that movie. He's a child in that movie. Zoe Saldana also a kind of a child in that movie. They're so young, but to see how he is kind of come into his own and seeing this footage, and this is a different Cassian than we had in season 1, who was not sure where he was going, who was, had all this stuff going on for him and was kind of working on the lower levels. Now he's moving forward. Now he's growing. I love that exchange when he's like, what do you want to be? You want to be the thief? I want to be a soldier. He's like, I need you to be a leader. That's something that's going to be surprising to see how Diego changes year to year. Every 3 episodes, what are you layering Andor with? What are you bringing to your Andor? So by the time we get to Yavin, and they said, we're going to dive into Yavin, we're going to tell you, that's exciting to see that they're going to do that. So it feels exciting, all these, and we're going to more planets. We're going to more locations. They said we're going to spend a lot of time in space. So there's so much that we're going to explore. So as Laura said, I think, there are a lot of people who felt like Laura, like this took a little bit of time to get going. It's a little like, I want to see more. It's not really 100% my kind of Star Wars. We're going to have probably action-packed 3 episodes, like every episode that's going to take us. And we're going to see some familiar characters and Krennic coming back. I mean, even Ben Mendelsohn spoke about him and Deidre not seeing eye to eye on stuff. Those two going at it, that's going to be awesome. Okay?
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting to see. So there's so much that I came out of this, the trailer, and then the Empire Magazine pictures going like, oh man, this is going to be so much fun.
You think we'll get a Mads Mikkelsen cameo, like at one point where he's just like on the horn with him, and then he like, oh, I gotta go and talk to Deidre or whatever. But like,
yes, 100%. I think we get a Saul. I know Felicity hasn't said. I know. Well, she said, but I mean, it could be something like that with Felicity as well, or her and Saul, but not necessarily seeing Cassian. It's a different situation. I think you got to bring everybody back. I think Rogue One, everybody who's in Rogue One, you could have moments with them in separate situations. So don't necessarily have to cross paths with Andor or with Cassian rather. So you keep it a kind of separate. So when they come together for Rogue One, it feels more believable,
Vader.
Do we need Vader? I mean,
you need Vader in everything, Rocha, everything.
It's so much.
Rebels cameos. I would love Rebels, even just one, even if it's just in the background. I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be absolutely fun. What about Baze Malbus and Chirrut Imwe? Do we get them in some form? That could be interesting to see.
That one I wonder, because I'm like, are you going to surpass Rogue One, or are you going to be like overlapping with Rogue One at all? Have they kind of established?
Yeah, no, they're on record as saying the last scene of Rogue One is basically on the Kafrene ring. It's like
yeah.
The last scene of Andor is literally leads right into that first scene on the Kafrene ring. He's probably like, hey, I gotta go. I'm gonna go see Tivik. Da-da! The end.
Yeah. Who is the pilot? The Riz Ahmed plays. The character's name. But remember,
Bodhi Rook.
So Bodhi had, remember, he said he had those interactions with oh God, why can't I remember his name? The dad. Matt
Galen Erso. That's right.
Yeah, Galen. He had those interactions with Galen in the prison. So are we going to see those scenes? They're like those.
Palpatine. Are we going to get Ian McDiarmid back?
Right. That's
for like a State of the Union commencements, January 20th kind of speech or something.
I don't know how Skeleton Crew is going to do. But I think Andor has the real potential season 2 to reset the fandom and get people back excited. And that could be something that we should all be looking forward to.
And we can speculate all we want about Andor season 2. Bear in mind, this is not like just throwing these cameos and stuff in is not Tony Gilroy's thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, he kind of established that, like, this is not what I'm here for. I'm here to tell a story about my characters. So as much as I would love to see all of these different things, I'm also kind of going into it with like, no, that's unlikely, just given that it's Tony.
Okay, but hear me out. Vegas.
Like,
are we going to see Kino Loy though? Did he swim? Did he survive? Or is he?
I think we have to see Kino Loy, right?
No, I think it's sacrifice.
Even Circus said we're not done. Circus, I thought, said we're not done with him. So
there's too many bringing back dead characters. It needs to stop somewhere. And his sacrifice is meaningful, and I think they need to just leave it. But that's just
somehow Kino Loy returned.
Well, was like, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Now go on.
Bye-bye.
But you're right, Laura, because I mean, he made Saw Gerrera work in season 1. It made sense. It was logical and made it much bigger than just cool, Saw's in this. There was much more that made sense. So it's a good point you make. Yeah, exactly. It's a great point you make about Tony Gilroy. So that's another reason to get even more excited, is that he won't do fan service just to do fan service. It has to serve the story. So that should get you more excited for this season too. All right. Well, is there anything more we need to discuss? Anything more we need to jump into here for the show? I think that's everything that we're talking about. And again, the magazine will be out in November 21st, I think. So you can see it digitally online. And of course, this one comes out on April 22nd. Have they said how many episodes will drop? Was it 2 or 3? Did they say?
I don't think they've said.
Okay. All right. I'm surprised we haven't gotten a full trailer. This thing is like 4 months away. So 4 or 5 months away. So I'm just a little surprised we haven't got one yet.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe after Skeleton Crew drops. All right. Well, there you go. That's our episode today for the Jedi Way. Thank you all so much for joining us. We appreciate you all madly. Kevin, another fun show. Please let people know where they can find you and all your KOTOR stuff and everything that's going on. Don't repitch everything because you already did it, but tell people where they can find you.
Hey, you don't need to rein me in. I'm not going to repitch anything. So listen, KOTOR convert. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me at Kev Smets. You can also find me at Smash City Studios on YouTube, and you can see all the latest and greatest from the new KOTOR stuff. Like I said, the trailer is out now. So other than that, it's good to be back on land, and it's good to be back seeing you two fine folks. And I'm excited to talk more Star Wars, and it does seem like just a lot of hopefully brighter future ahead. Not that the past was dark, but it was murky waters for a while. If we're going to continue with the boat analogy, a little murky waters when we were going through some of the rough patches with fandom and stuff. So hopefully everybody starts to get on board, and they're going to work out those tinks. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, good point. I think you're trying to say kinks, not twinks. I think you're trying to say kinks. Anyway,
yeah.
Laura Kelly, another fun episode with you. Always appreciate your analysis, your no-nonsense approach to certain things, but also your fandom that comes through in certain moments when you're talking about the things you love about Star Wars. Please let people know where they can find you and any other shows you're guesting on and what have you recently.
Sure. I haven't been on guest on many shows recently, but so you can just find me on my other show, Force Toast, a Star Wars Happy Hour. That's at Force Toast Pod on Twitter and Instagram. As far as Twitter is concerned, I'm sort of in the process of moving on. I think from Twitter. I think I've finally had enough, which is really unfortunate because, when the Schmodown was a thing, that's where I kind of really built up a following, and I'm really sad to leave that behind. But I think it's time to leave Twitter behind. So I did start a Blue Sky account. My handle is at @shutup_Laura. They do not allow underscores. So on Threads and Instagram, which I'm not nearly as active on, I am at @shutup_Laura still. I might try and get more active on there, but sadly I think Twitter has to go. So check me out on Blue Sky. I'll be over there.
Fair enough. I am also on Blue Sky. I joined a few days ago at the Rocha Says. I kept the same handle, so minimize the confusion there. But I'm with you, Laura. I'm probably going to spend less time on Twitter, probably just posting my shows and then moving over to Blue Sky mostly to look at stuff. But I hear you. I don't know what Kevin's doing, but maybe Kevin's.
I kind of just try to weed it out and mute the accounts I don't want to see. So I could tough it out for you guys for a little bit.
Do it. Stay in the boat, Kevin. Stay in the boat.
But I'd like to. Blue Sky is it good? It's like Twitter, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, please remember to subscribe to the channel down below, everybody. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button. We appreciate it madly. Go and find this as well, wherever you download podcasts. We'd appreciate that as well. All right, for Kevin Smets, Laura Kelly, I am the outlaw John Rocha Fett saying goodbye. And Laura, what do we have to tell him before we get on out of here?
Until next time, remember, your focus determines your reality.
Now more than ever.